Right. It is the Tereak Talks preview show without Tereak Talks. Tonight it is me, and joining me is my main man, Wilf, OG of the TTF, OG of basically just being a good mate and a good friend. So how you doing, Will?
I'm good, big man. I'm good. Looking forward to this. We can have a proper professional show this time.
Yeah.
Now that Tariq's missing, so he's
We're all
out
nice.
gallivanting.
He is. He's out with work colleagues. He's having a fun night out. Work colleagues, a work event.
Colleagues, yeah.
It's a work
event, is it? Yeah. Okay.
So we're gonna do usual stuff, guys. So tonight it's just gonna be usual talking points. I'm gonna do the form, some of the bits and pieces on the stats, and me and Wolf are gonna talk about what's going on, how it's all going. I'll take you through the injuries as well, but I will let Wilf and his dulcet tones do a lot of the talking as well. So we've had a quick talk, and it wouldn't be right to start anywhere else other than this game. So Chelsea versus Arsenal, arguably the biggest game of the weekend. Two teams on the back of conflicting last weekends in the Premier League. And if we look at the last 5 meetings, just ticking along there on the bottom, it's not bad reading for gooners such as yourself, though, Will.
No.
With Chelsea losing 4 of the last 5, with only the 1 win for Chelsea. And I think one of those wins for Arsenal was, I believe, the FA Cup final.
Yeah, it would have been. That would have been the first one of those.
Yeah, probably the first one, right? So
yeah,
that was obviously Arteta's Arteta's first big win, and the start.
And it was quite important. It's quite. At first, let me say, I wouldn't have come on if we hadn't started with this game. To be honest, I think Arteta is Chelsea's bogey manager. For the most part, every time that we've needed a big win or we've needed a statement win, Chelsea have come along in the nick of time and just given us one.
Yeah,
and Stamford Bridge, it bodes well for us. You know what I mean? I think Eddie likes it there. I don't know Jesus's record there, but first off, big out to the chat and everybody's in there. How you doing? I don't know. It's just generally for this Arsenal side, it's a good place to go. Long may that continue.
Yeah. So I will take you through the form and stuff, but I think, as Wilf has just rightly pointed out, and that's why he's the co-host tonight. He's right. I haven't gone through the comments, and there is quite a few of you in with us. So I really appreciate you coming along, especially without the main man Tereak here on Tereak Talks himself. So So hi, Shay. Hope you're doing well, mate. Wilf's in here already.
Yep.
And we've got Rich here as well. How's it going? We will talk about Palace. Me and Wilf are actually just talking about the fact that it might be a sneaky, quite important game this weekend against West Ham, which we will talk about. Mums are here. Hope you're doing well, mate. There's no Barry tonight, unfortunately. Well, Shay's already getting straight in with the predictions. So guys, for those of you that don't know, we do a predictions league every week. If you're not in the Discord, you're missing out. There's good chat, good banter in there nearly every day. Something fun's happening. Important stuff, not so important stuff, and everything in between. So if you're not in there, get in there. Yes, always. G Staffy,
Grace, my girl.
For those that love the championship, we even have a championship predictions league which Grace runs herself. So big up to Grace, and thank you very much for doing that.
You don't want to go in that. It's very painful for me.
It's got its own separate. Well, have you seen again? If you're not in the Discord, she's got me in 6th when I'm definitely above the person in front of me, which appears it's actually my wife. So she's just she's definitely given a girl points. Is what I'm
mate. She's being a mummy's girl there. She's being a mummy's girl.
So Paxton as well. Thank you, bro. Thanks for being here as always. And as I always say every week, if you can beat Paxton to getting your predictions in the comments straight after the video, you're a better man than me. So B&B. I think last weekend, I think your consistency with picking Spurs to lose almost got you points. I think he'd do a lot better at the Predictions League if he ever didn't back Spurs to lose every week. But he sticks to his guns.
I'm the same.
Mr. T. Well, if you've seen the Championship ones, if you see what I put for West Brom, I think I put -19. I think last week against West Brom. So I'm already throwing that away because I'm so far behind. Mr. 200, Paul. Hope you're doing well, brother. And we've got Red Devil Yannick as well, dropping in his predictions already. Yeah, and Grace is always repping the Championship, because I think, to be honest, this is the only YouTube community that I know that has a Middlesbrough fan. So
okay.
That is other than Middlesbrough YouTube, of course, but I don't really go down that route.
There is some investigation into match fixing, because whenever Grace goes to a Borough game, they win. So
yeah, I think Mr. Stafford's a big mover and shaker up there. I think that's what it's all about. I think Grace is an undercover rich girl. Is my
I know.
Is my
exactly.
Especially with her holiday snaps. So back in to Arsenal versus Chelsea. We will touch on the Aubameyang stuff. So guys, in your comments, try and keep them clean, but it might be difficult with what he's done recently. But thoughts on the Aubameyang stuff we will touch on. We'll start with Arsenal. Arsenal's form, not bad really at all. 3 wins, a draw, and just the 1 loss. And I believe
is this just Premier League? Or
no. This is without the midweek game that you won.
Right.
I did all this well and truly in advance on like Tuesday morning. Honest boss. I was working.
Yeah.
On my lunch break. So that is the European games will be missing on here, but of course, just because I always do it for Tereak, Wilf, where are Arsenal currently in the league?
I believe we're top of any table you want to look at, actually.
Yeah, true. Men's, women's, all over the shop, right?
Women's, men's, both. European. Yeah. Take a pick.
Chelsea, who are definitely not top of the league, suffered their first loss, quite an embarrassing loss for Mr. Potter against his former team last week. Yeah. But of course, they did win in midweek, I believe. In sort of a dead rubber towards the end of their European campaign. So that is missing a win there. So realistically, that should be 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. So again, I must
admit, I was kind of embarrassed for the Brighton fans by how they treated Potter, because the fact that they're booing him, without him, they wouldn't be in a position to boo him.
I agree
about where they are. It's totally disrespectful. Really, really was.
Yeah, I'm very surprised, because obviously there was a section of the Brighton fans that booed him last season as well. So there may be a bit more of a tumultuous. You always say it's nice to go down to Sussex on the Sea, don't you, when you go to Brighton? But I don't think it's all roses. Deserby. So yeah, if we'll touch now on your thoughts on Mr. Aubameyang and his social media post this week. What's your thoughts on it?
To be honest, I thought it was actually hilarious, because he's so irrelevant to us now and where we are and what we've become without him. I generally, when I saw his advert for BT Sport, I wet myself laughing. I generally was like, "Oh, is he talking about us? Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, whatever, mate, whatever." I think someone in the Discord, I think it might have been Tezzy, he said it's, when it's you've got an ex-girlfriend or an ex, and they're trying really hard to keep themselves relevant, but you've totally forgotten them, moved on, you're with this really hot new partner, and you're like, your partner goes, "Who's that?" It's an ex, It's all of his stuff since he's left us and since he's gone at Chelsea has been so what's the word I'm looking for? Just sad. Just salty and sad. I just, he's not the player. I don't fear him like when he was at Dortmund or when he was with us. He may score, the script is written, but I don't think he's going to be on the winning side.
I think on your Arsenal show, I think that you did with King and T, I think whoever made the point, I think that Aubameyang, if he doesn't score, is a negative for the team.
Yeah.
But I think everything that he's done since leaving Arsenal, and I think especially this week, is that not just vindication for how Arteta said, we don't need people like you here for things
100%.
like this. For things like
100%.
this, that's kind of where I am with it.
It literally is. It's justified everything that Arteta has done with regards to him and getting him out of the team and how he got him out of the team and how he got him out of the club. It's vindication, justification in everything that he's done. He's proved that. I mean, there's several players that are in that category where it's like there is no way that we would be where we are harmoniously if those players were still here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn my camera off. I'm going to move location. Yeah. So,
no worries.
I'm still here.
No worries. Well, while you're doing that, I'll quickly go through the injuries for people for their predictions. I know Moss is watching this back later, so this might be big for you. So we'll touch on Wilf and Tereak and Moss's and B&B's and everyone else's team that's a Guna here in the TTF. Emile Smith-Rowe definitely out, more than likely out well past when the World Cup starts and finishes. So he's not due back till Boxing Day. Tomiyasu is a big doubt, apparently. He's got a muscular issue. It doesn't quite state where. So Arteta has said in his press conference that he is reviewing Tomiyasu's condition over the next 48 hours. And he's down listed at 25%. Apparently, it'll be a late fitness. So maybe something really only interesting for the bench, Matt Turner. No return date with a grip, a groin and hip and pelvic injury. Ramsdale is fit, so there's no real concerns there. Again, those are more bench issues. And then just quickly on Chelsea. Chelsea's list is slightly longer. Kante and Kepa both out. Kovacic will be back. Chilwell and Chukwuemeka, Wesley Fofana and Reece James. So we are talking a lot of the defensive side of Chelsea. Defensive starters, you would imagine, in James, Fofana, Chilwell, all out. So, guys, when you're doing your predictions in the chat, maybe take that into consideration as well, because Chelsea seem to have got a little bit of an issue at the back. Yeah, a little bit of an issue at the back. So, just to answer some of the questions in the chat, as Will gets himself all settled. The main man is at a work event, Mama G. So that's where he is tonight.
Oh, is Mama G back, or is she watching from?
No. She's watching from JA. She's all the way over there.
Okay.
She's back soon, I believe, but she's having a holiday and a half from what I've seen. It looks beautiful out there.
Yeah, we're looking after him.
Yeah, he's all good. Paxton there has answered as always. And Paxton, if you wouldn't mind, or anyone else that can, maybe drop in the chat, the Discord link as well, if you can, guys. Yeah, and just talking on some of the Aubameyang stuff. So B&B, I know you said earlier, Ubahu, but also you can't cheer a man that leaves you mid-season. No how here, big up, mate. I hope you're well.
He did us a favour, to be honest.
Well,
leaving mid-season.
I remember when he left, because Tereak was doing a deadline day stream, and he yammered on for ages while the news dropped that Aubameyang had left, and I had the dreaded COVID at that week, and Paxton, me, and a few other people were trying to put it in the chat, and he wasn't looking. So I had to go onto this now StreamYard and drop it in the live chat to shut him up. I had to go in and say, look at the comments, he's gone. So yeah, know how here, with a little bit of maybe a bit of a Man United bias here. Oba to run the length right in front of the Arsenal fans if he scores. Bobby K bringing some Spurs chat to the chat box here as well. So thank you everyone that's locked in. We've got 14 people, so that's really, really good. Some of the predictions. Shay here going for 3-1. Arsenal with going for the Saka, Xhaka and Jesus. I think I have all three of those in my FPL team. But there's a man on this stream who's got a much better FPL record than me this season so far. I believe, Wilf, you are top of the Tereak's Talk League, I'd imagine.
I am. I've there's quite a few. I'm on top of Tereak's Kings. Oh, by the way, if King asks, right, you didn't see me tonight. I wasn't here.
Okay, deal.
And I think I'm on top of Tereak's, Kings, and Eagle Eyes as well.
Nice. So,
I mean, it's a major fluke. It's a major fluke. I don't know how it has happened, because it was, you know.
I'm still playing catch up for thinking that Haaland would take 2 weeks to get into speed. That was literally my plan for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, for 2 weeks. I was going to give him 2 weeks. Had Kane, had Jesus, and I had just a third striker that was rubbish. And my plan was to jump off Kane onto Haaland. And yeah, but those 2 weeks, and that's literally been me trying to play catch up ever since.
The 2 weeks that have done it for me is because I knew Haaland was gonna start firing. Because I watched a lot of the Bundesliga when he first joined. From before he joined Dortmund, when he was at Leipzig, and I just thought this kid is just something else.
Yeah.
If he's fit, he scores. And then I had him as my triple captain at one point when he scored a hat trick.
That will do it.
And that's what kind of set me clear. And I just kind of need to maintain my my momentum. I suppose what I mean, I've been lucky with some other things as well, because like last week, because I've got Almiron in mind. And I had him as my vice captain if Haaland didn't, and he I think he scored one and set one up, and I was just like, yeah. So I've been a bit lucky.
What a season he's having! I'm planning at some point to try and hijack Jack Grealish's I don't know, his Instagram or Twitter or something. Just get him to slag off a couple of Wolves players so they can bang just like Miggy did after what he said. So,
to be honest, I mean, you got. We'll get to Newcastle, but you got to give Eddie Howe credit for this, because everyone's
very much so.
He was going to be sacked by the beginning of the season, let alone where they are. So
I don't think people saw him there. I don't think people saw him there long term, but he's doing really well. So B&B here with 3-1 as well, going the same as Shay there. Red Devil Yannick, good to see you back, brother.
Yep.
He's gone for a 2-0 Arsenal win. Paxton, I think that might have pained him, but he has gone for an Arsenal win. The only thing Paxton hasn't done is put the scorers, which he normally does. So
I think he's probably having to lie down in a darkened room just from doing that score.
So Shay's actually changed now, maybe after the injury list that I talked about. Chelsea there, he's gone for a 3-0. And to answer this question, Saka is a precaution.
Yeah, he is fit. Yeah.
For those people there was 3 people last week that triple captain Reece Nelson in FPL. So that's got to be Reece Nelson's dad, mum, and Reece himself, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even think Reece it was probably his grandma. Well, I don't even Reece had him in the squad. I actually, looking at the injury list, I've gone for a 3-1 Arsenal win. I just think on the back of what we've done in midweek, so we've set up all the things that we meant to accomplish so far this season was a fast start, accumulating as much points as possible, winning our Europa group, being in a good position going into the World Cup. Job done, and I think the boys are gonna be flying high, and Chelsea are gonna be a little bit reserved in how they're gonna play us because of their injuries and just how good we are now. You know, all the tests that we were supposed to have come a cropper on, we've jumped over and are flying high. So I think a 3-1 is due.
Nice. Well, I've gone for a 2-0 Arsenal win. I'm going with keeping that clean sheet. I'm not convinced by that Chelsea backline before the injuries, and I think with those injuries now, how important Cucurella is to how they start many attacks. I think Saka's gonna not only give him an issue going that way, but also he's going to work his nuts off and make sure that he can't do anything going this way either. So I think he's going to have his hands full.
I don't think I think I agree with you. I don't think Cucurella is going to be able to come forward because of the fear of Saka. And
just to round it all off, T has sent me his predictions.
You said 2-0. I actually think Oba's going to score. I really think Oba's going to score. I really think so.
I don't have any context to why T's gone for this, but he is going for Arsenal to maintain that top of the league form, which it will be, of course, if Arsenal do win. So we've all gone for. I've not seen anyone in the chat even go against an Arsenal win. So I think everyone here is backing Arsenal to pile on some more misery on Mr.
Surprises
Potter.
Me about T because he's a G Potter fan. So I thought he was gonna, and G Potter, to be fair, does have Arsenal's number, but that might have been under Brighton. So,
yes, there was a busyness to Brighton that he's not been able to bring yet to Chelsea. I think it will come, and it sounds like it's going to come by him ransacking Brighton by the sounds of it. Because I think he's linked to Caicedo, they're linked to not Lamptey, the Veltman apparently is also linked there as well. So I think he's doing the age-old tactic of ransacking the former club. So guys, we'll move on to the next game, which is another big game. Spurs versus Liverpool. We'll quickly go through this. I think after the Chelsea-Arsenal game is definitely the biggest game of the weekend. The last 5 meetings between these, again, not bad reading for you Gooners there. Spurs not managed to win one in the last 5, with 3 wins for Liverpool and 2 draws. And interestingly, when I did the research on this, Spurs have only won 1 of the last 20 games against Liverpool. So again, maybe take that into consideration. We're going quite a ways back to when they last beat them. And if we look quickly at the form, and again, guys, just caveat this with it doesn't have the midweek game. So I know Spurs managed to pull a victory out of one of the strangest performances of their season. And you could argue maybe they've not had a great season. So that's 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw for that team. And Liverpool very up and down this season, as the form does show. So again, another win. They won in midweek, right? They did.
Yeah, they did, but
against Napoli, right?
They did, but not enough to overturn They finished second in their thing.
Yeah. So they are on the back of 3 wins and 2 losses. So the Liverpool and Klopp train keeps trundling on, dropping off the rails and stuff. And just quickly for me on Spurs. And this is not just a pander to the Arsenal fans, not just in the chat, but as well. Have they played well in one game this season?
Not the Leicester
I'm struggling.
One, maybe the Leicester one in the second half.
Yeah, the Son sort of kicking off,
but even then, Leicester were in the game. I mean, this is a really tough one to call because I think whoever scores first wins this game. Liverpool all season, I think it's something like 9 or 10 out of the last 11 or 12 games they've conceded first, which is just ridiculous. If Liverpool score first, Spurs don't have enough to come out and win the game because they'll open gaps, and that's exactly what Liverpool want.
Yeah.
If Spurs score first, they're just going to shut up shop, and there's going to be a bus, a tank, aircraft carrier, all in front of that goal.
Whatever Conte can bring in.
Exactly. He's probably going to get a dome across there as well. So it's a tough one. But that said, Liverpool on the back of their performance in midweek, Spurs, if they have a game like they did last weekend against Liverpool, they will lose. If it's a slugfest,
Definitely.
Liverpool will win that. But it's I don't know. I see it as a tight game, really.
Yeah,
really,
me too.
really tight one.
I said to you just before we went live that I was listening to a podcast trying to plagiarise what I could say tonight, and it was one analyst said that he expects this game to be like two bald men fighting over a comb. So he wasn't expecting much from this game. And when you look at just quickly, when you look at the injury list, it doesn't read very well for either team. So Luis Diaz out. He's also out until Boxing Day. Joel Matip is very much a doubt. James Milner's in the concussion protocol. Naby Keita out. Artemello's out, obviously. That's a very strange signing all round.
We dodged a bullet on that one last season. We really dodged a bullet on that one.
And the last one out for Liverpool is Diogo Jota. So there's some big players they're missing for Liverpool. So Jota, Diaz, Joel Matip, Milner, all steady performers or star performers really for them this season. And then for Tottenham, Tottenham's list is relatively long as well. There's a late fitness test for Lucas Moura, Bentancur too as well. He was picked up a slight knock in midweek. Kulusevski apparently could be back. He's had a few training sessions, so he might be on the bench. So for those of you that maybe want to jump onto him for FPL next week, Romero out, big one for them. Heung-Son Min, obviously, he got a very nasty fracture around his left eye, and he's more than likely out for the World Cup as well. So he fractured his orbital bone on in a collision, and there's more than likely he's going to miss the World Cup because he requires surgery to stabilise the fracture.
Yeah.
So there's potential, according to what I'm reading here, that he may play with a mask, but he's out for the foreseeable. He won't play in the Premier League again until after the World Cup at the earliest. And Richarlison also out.
Yeah. That's, you know what makes me laugh about this one is one of the curses of voodoo curses have been leveled at us all season is if we have 2 or 3 big injuries where we're buggered for the season, and you know teams like Liverpool and Spurs, they're you know it doesn't concern them. Those are massive injuries for Spurs.
Yep,
it's their forward line really. So basically, they've just got Kane.
Yep,
and if they don't have the supply to him, he's not a Messi or Ronaldo who score goals on their own out of nothing. And with the fact that they play so deep and so negatively, wow, that's a major. Yeah. I didn't know about Song, but that's a major blows. And when you got Liverpool, all their players that are in form are the ones that are injured, and the ones that they still got are not in form. Your Van Dijks and even the Salahs and Nunez. I'm not saying that they're terrible, but they're not at peak form. So this could end up as a draw. You could see this end up as
a very, very interesting one. And that is actually what Paxton's gone for there with a 1-1, maybe feeling each other out a little bit maybe on this one. But let's see what T said for this game, because I don't know off the top of my head. Let me find out what he said. I think it might banners early and I had to put it somewhere else, so bear with me while I find it. But I think I am going to go for a draw. I think I'm going to go for goals in this though, because whilst I understand your point about the Harry Kane doesn't get much by himself, what that man can do is get a penalty out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, they are
they'll score
slightly a threat off set pieces with their back line. So I think I'm going to go with goals in this one, but I think I'm going with goals because I don't make either of their defences right now. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 for this one, and just found what T's gone for, and T has gone for a 1-1 in this one as well. So he's also gone for a draw.
It's interesting you talk about Harry Kane and penalties. I actually am thinking about putting a tenner on him, getting a penalty from his own penalty box.
Yeah.
In his own penalty box.
Yeah.
VAR
He can find a way. He
it.
can find a way.
Yeah, VAR backing it, going. He went down in the penalty box. It was a foul penalty. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think there's going to be goals, but I think Liverpool are just going to shade it, just because their injury record is a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I've gone for a 2-1.
Nice. Their form as well.
Yeah.
Form is slightly better for them. Like their performances, whilst not where you expect the Klopp Liverpool level to be, they are still a lot higher than sort of where Conte and the Spurs team are this season. They are this machine that keeps getting results. But I would argue that the performances at some point, there's not been really a standout performance to pin their colours to the mast to. So I think
Liverpool or Spurs?
Spurs. I think the Spurs.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs team's faltering a little bit for me. I think they're flattering to deceive right now.
But funny enough, by Tottenham standards, I think they're having a brilliant season. I don't think they're any good. I think they're crap. I think they're playing their football style's crap. But by their standards, they're they're hanging in there.
Yep.
But I think they're gonna fall off a cliff. You know what? I think after the World Cup, because if you think about all of their players, unless they're lucky like Richarlison's and Kulusevski's and whatever, don't go to the World Cup, they're going to be playing. Kane's going to be playing. You're saying Son might be out till after the World Cup. He's going to need to find his form back because he doesn't hit the ground running.
No.
So this could jeopardize their top four ambitions.
Yeah. And of course the Juve thing in the background as well for Conte is always there. It's always there as well, isn't it? So there aren't many predictions in the chat, but as I said earlier, Paxton going for his 1-1, and again, no. Is that even the real Paxton? That's what I want to know. Brush,
I know.
Hope you're doing well, mate. Hope you're doing well.
Brush.
B&B back in, of course. Spurs to lose. If you ever wanted a 10-1 on bet, it would be B&B is going to say Spurs to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
And this might be one of the few times you get it right.
Bang on.
I hope you're well, Shay. I think in the Discord the Discord link is, I believe, in the description. But if it's not, I'll drop it in the comments after the video's finished, mate. So he's gone for 4-1. He's gone for Harry Kane, Mo Salah. This game is going to have Spurs and Harry Kane scoring a penalty and then get a red card.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
My FPL team would. And this one's directed just for you, Wilf.
Yeah. How
many books on those behind you, Wilfred?
Probably about 4 of them, because most of them are my missus. There's about 4 on there that are mine, but mostly my missus. So yeah, not many. She's read absolutely every one of them, guaranteed.
And right, we've touched on. So we have touched on the team that's top of the league, but how about the team?
Is that again? Which one's that again?
I believe that's Arsenal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we'll touch on the team that are hot on your heels with a potentially fit Haaland, at least to be on the bench this weekend. So Man City versus Fulham. The last 5 meetings doesn't read well for those that are hoping for a Man City to stumble. And Man City are actually unbeaten against Fulham in 18 games. And the last time Fulham won was that very famous game under Roy Hodgson in the last day of the season in 2009. So we are talking 13 years ago was the last time Fulham laid a glove on Man City. And if we just
this is a different Fulham side. Much
any
that I've seen in the last 10 years.
It's definitely not the Fulham team that I was predicting to go down quite comfortably at the start of the season.
Likewise.
Definitely got that wrong. I know Moss has always been a big fan of Fulham and thought that they were going to do better than they have. So Man City, it doesn't include their win. I think they won yesterday, was it? Or Wednesday?
Wednesday. 3-1.
with the 12-year-old or whatever he was that scored one of their one of their next youngsters that flying through. So 3 wins,
I think
2 draws.
Your boy's older than Alvarez.
Yes, I think he might be. It won't be long till he's on the books somewhere, hopefully.
Yeah, and exactly.
Fulham's form, not bad. 1 loss. And of course, Fulham, as both myself and Will talked about, sitting nice and comfortable I'm just checking, 7th in the Premier League, which I think even Fulham fans, the most ardent of Fulham fans would have hazarded a guess that they'd have been that high up in the table after so many games.
I think most Fulham fans are swearing at the king, going, "You're taking a mick, going around asking people what day is it? Is it real?"
Yep. Pinch me. Yes, no, it's because also I think just on Fulham, they're not like scraping wins either. It's not ugly football. It's not, that they're sort of stinking the place out. They are playing good football. Yeah. Mitrovic is coming banging, and it's their injury front as well. Not bad either. I think Manor Solomon is out. Decordova-Reid, who is a starter for them, is out for this game due to 5 yellow cards. And then Neeskins Cabano, so that's sort of the right or left winger, has ruptured his Achilles. So I can't imagine he'll be back anytime soon. But that's it. That's it just for them. Just 3 people out for this game against Man City. And for Man City, Haaland, according to Pep today, he's going to decide by the end of today whether he's going to start or be on the bench. Akanji is back. Akanji's back. Calvin Phillips and Kyle Walker, England fans are probably the only ones really overly interested in them. Both of those are out with no real return date. So realistically, Man City almost at full strength, really, just without their starting right back and without Calvin Phillips, really.
Calvin Phillips injury, because I like him and I really hope he makes the England.
So it says shoulder injury. He is doing some training, but it's non-contract. Right. The quote here from Pep today is that we know how important the World Cup is. Thanks for that, Pep. But we can't use a player who is not ready. And feeling now it might be a bit tight to get him back fit for the World Cup. So I don't think he'll be making people's tier lists for those that like to do that.
I mean, the thing is, I feel for Calvin because shoulder injuries are weird ones, and especially because of the position that he plays. Here's his contact, it's shoulder to shoulder, and all it takes is a tweak, and that it changes the way you run, it changes the way you tackle, it changes the physicality of your game. It's almost better if he had an ankle or a knee injury, because you can cover that up a little bit more, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
But it's a shame that he won't be making a World Cup. And I mean, he's been injury ravaged since before leaving Leeds, actually.
Yeah.
And he's not kind of. I think it's just his body developing because he's still really young. I think he's like 22, 23, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's around 23, 24, I think. But he obviously under Bielsa came from. He kind of did the reverse to what Wolves did with Connor Cody. He was a centre-back, but slightly undersized, and moved forward a little bit to quite a dynamic centre midfielder. And as you say, that shoulder is going to be so important in everything that you do. It'll be really interesting. So, Wilf, how do you see this game going? What's your thoughts on this? Man City win?
I see a Man City win, but it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be like a 1-0 or a 2-1. Mitrovic, I have to eat humble pie on this because I didn't think he would be this good. I think he'll nick a goal because he'll just be such a bully to any back four that he plays against. I mean, he did it against Gabriel, and Gabriel's no wuss. I see Man City sneaking this. I think 2-1 because I've got Mitrovic in my FPL, and hopefully he scores. I see Haaland coming off the bench and scoring.
Yeah.
Probably Foden or Grealish getting his first goal, or Foden coming up with another one. But you know what? the one thing I've been impressed about with City is Alvarez is a good substitute. He is a cracking little player.
Yeah.
He's no Haaland, but then who is?
Yeah.
I think he, with Haaland out, he can carry the mantle very well.
Yeah,
Very
I think that
underestimated.
they found the perfect player in still up and coming, still quite young, but also
Yeah.
first team quality. Because it's
Yeah.
the Spurs quandary always is who wants to be second fiddle to Harry
Yes.
Kane,
Yeah.
and it's not like the good old days of 4-4-2 where two strikers play out of your four, so you can
Yeah.
rotate it quite nicely. You know, you
Yeah.
think about Henry, Wiltord.
Yeah.
Bergkamp, you had those three
Yeah.
that raid on, then Reyes.
And Carnu as well.
Yeah, and
Carnu as well.
Carnu, always the fourth person that kind of always managed to get the game, and obviously the famous four at Man United. You don't really have those two spots now, so I think it's quite difficult. But yeah, he's a cracking little player, and yeah, like you say, no Haaland, but that when Haaland's not there, all that happens is, like you talk about, Foden, KDB just have to step up that game that 3 or 4% more. So
which they can do.
Yes, quite comfortably. So T is actually going for quite a comfortable win here. So these are Tereak's predictions on the screen, going for a 3-0.
Can I say I'm surprised with that, because he's been banging on about Man City's backline being quite weak, and I'm surprised he's gone for a clean sheet here. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
no, not at all. So yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because my prediction, and I wrote, because Tereak sent me his this morning via a text message. He did actually check his phone, and I fell off the floor.
Wow,
I know.
So you sure it was him? Somebody didn't nick his phone or something?
It's because I had to do all this for him. You see, that's what it was. He graced me with his presence via a text message. He didn't respond to me when I sent it back, so normal service was resumed quite quickly. But that was the point.
Got in contact with your people.
Yeah, basically. But my people is me. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And his people is also me. So sometimes I'm just talking to myself. So I actually went for a 3-1. I went for a 3-1 on that very thing. So, you know, I know he always shouts at King and King's football show. I think he's actually streaming as we speak.
He is.
Definitely talking about Man City's backline. And I think that is something T's been banging on about constantly. Because I would say, out of those top two teams, I would much rather have Arsenal's back four than I would Man City's currently.
Yeah, see, that was one of the things I was thinking over the weekend. It's like, arguably, we've got the best back four in the league at the moment. I would definitely say we've got the best two centre backs in Gabriel and Saliba at the moment. And it's a weird thing, because I would never have, with all the players that we've got this season. Of course, I'm back talking about Arsenal, but you know, pre-season and all the rest of it. It was all talk about our forward line, about us going forward, and about our attacking, which arguably we've got one of the best front threes in the league.
Yep.
But our defense has been outstanding.
Oh yeah,
and I think that could be the difference that gets us into that second spot in the league.
Oh yes, Saliba's been the chef's kiss on that defense, and I think he adds that little bit of quality. But so we'll do this now. Tishi, hi.
Hello, Mark.
Hope you're well. Hope you're safe, and let me know when you're coming home, because I'm doing this early because I want to make sure that I'm awake when you're back. So I've gone for 3-1 on this. Just touching on that, the fact that again, like you say, Mitrovic, definitely a goal threat, and that Man City backline, as we've been banging on this channel about, and anyone else that listen. And just go quickly through the comments. Paxton, but the real Paxton's back, because he's even put down who he thinks it's going to be.
Okay.
KDB brace. Shay, bring in the comments as well. Thank you very much for sticking around, Shay. Really appreciate it. We've gone for a Jack Grealish, Raheem Sterling. Is he going to pop up from Chelsea to pop one in maybe? And Haaland to score. And Stu McSee here. Odds on Aubameyang pulling out a Joker mask as he bangs a brace versus Arsenal. Maybe that's 1-4 potentially. Potentially, but I can't see it. I can't see it. And Paxton here telling us that McTominay is very busy tonight.
Okay.
Playing PGA, playing golf. So That's good to know, Paxton. Thank you for that. This streaming thing is one thing. Like streaming your games that you're playing. That's not one for me. That's when I realised I think I'm getting old because I don't understand that.
I couldn't do either. I couldn't be streaming and playing. I struggled to play. Let me ask you something. Paulinho.
Yeah.
He's playing, right? He's not injured. He's Paulinho.
No. He's fine. Yeah, there's nothing about him. No suspensions.
Again, I think he may be the difference in cause Man City some problems. I like him as a little player.
Yeah, he's someone that Wolves were very much interested in, of course, because he's a Portuguese international and part of the Jorge Mendes. But Fulham offered him more money. And do you want to live in Wolverhampton? Do you want to live in London with more money? I wonder what you're going to choose. And
Wolverhampton every day.
So we'll move on now then to Man United. Man United versus Aston Villa. We can gloss over these two teams
because neither one of us there's one on either side that neither one of us like. So
the fact that I prefer Man United in this should tell you everything you need to know about our thoughts on this. So the last 5 meetings doesn't bode overly well for you Villa fans with just the 1 win, 3 wins for Man United and a draw, and of course this is Emery's first game.
Yeah.
Form, 3 losses, a win and a draw, and Man United's form is not including the win again for in midweek. So realistically, their form is actually quite impressive. In the last 6 games,
nothing. They still finished second and got extra
games. It didn't. Paxton, it might be interesting to get a Man United's take on this. Genuinely, it didn't look like they were going for that second goal either. To me, from what I've seen. It's very, very surprising that it seems like they just were, and it's
the whole setup. I mean, bringing in Donny van der Beek in a game where you needed to win and you needed to win by a few goals, that kind of smacked of it doesn't matter the extra games. Let's just make sure we qualify.
Yeah. So I think there was a little bit of shutting up shop, and then just quickly on their injuries. 3 players ruled out for Aston Villa. One of them I've never heard of, Ludwig Augustinsson. No idea who that is, but he's not playing. They've obviously lost Diego Carlos, the centre back, and Boubacar Kamara, both out. And Martinez is still technically in the concussion protocol.
Yeah,
so he's still only 75%. But I'd imagine a week on, as long as he's passing all those tests.
And it wasn't. I mean, it was a nasty knock, but it didn't look like. I mean, he wasn't out. He wasn't out cold. So,
and on Man United, they are without Bruno Fernandes. He is suspended after 5 yellow cards.
Oh, what a shame! I am so gutted about that.
The fidget spinner is on a late fitness test. So Anthony is. He did pick up a knock in midweek, and he may be rested for this game. Jadon Sancho, Anthony Martial, Brandon Williams, and Rafael Varane are all out as well. So Jadon Sancho is down as 50-50. He's currently unwell and at home. So realistically for Man United, big losses is potentially just Anthony and Bruno Fernandes. I think everyone else was on the periphery for this season anyway. And of course, he who does not need to be talked about is still off due to police involvement.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I must admit, as painful as this is coming out of my mouth, I have been impressed by Anthony. I actually rate him. I've heard a lot of people don't rate him and they think he's a bit of a one-trick pony or whatever, but what a hell of a one trick to have. I think he is suited to their style. I think he's suited to the Premier League. And you know what? I like that kind of showboating.
Yeah.
I grew up in an age where it was tricks on the football on the playground. And it just he's a performer. He gets bums on seats.
Yeah.
He will give you something to we're still talking about it now, week on. I rate him very highly.
Yeah, I liked it. He's a busy player, and it's funny. It is funny that he did that
Yeah,
spin and then the pass is off. But if that pass goes early, the run's not there. So I see why he did it. And
yeah,
like you talk about, why not try and entertain? And
exactly.
if he's good enough to do it, do it. And it's
Yeah,
going to be one of those that we all remember Ronaldo when he came. Not
yeah,
the original Ronaldo, because he was
yeah, yeah,
incredible,
yeah.
but
He was
but
sick.
the second Ronaldo, he came in
Yeah,
doing his lollipops, he came in doing his step overs, and people put him in the
yeah,
stands and stuff like that. He had to change how he is. But if you've got that in your locker, then do it. Why
exactly.
not? And you can
Football's an
all the
entertainment business.
yeah.
Football's an entertainment business. So,
The
and
dinosaurs such as Souness and things, they can all
yeah,
to go and take a hike for me, because just whenever he talks about sort of Souness in particular, these people
yeah,
with all their fancy haircuts and stuff like that. My man had a wet perm. Do you know how
yes,
long that is
yeah.
to wait for that? I remember my nan
And a
having
porno
those.
tash, and a
Yeah.
porno tash.
So I remember my nan getting a perm, and I had to
Yeah,
go and sit in the hairdressers and read a magazine for about 4 hours. So
exactly.
you're telling me Paul Pogba's fancy haircuts don't take that long as well? They're probably quicker than a wet perm.
Yeah,
So
and also
just get
just the
back in your
fact of
box.
Souness was never that skillful. He could do that with someone's head,
Yeah,
not with a ball though.
yeah,
But no, and the thing is, when you talk about it, the actual pass that he made, the player who it was going to, I can't remember who it wasn't ready for the pass, because the
yeah,
pass wasn't that bad. It wasn't actually ready for the pass. It was into the space
yeah,
where he needed to go into. So I love it. I love it. And we'll be
yeah.
talking about that a lot longer than we'll be talking about your McTominay's doing anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
And just last bit that I thought was interesting on the stats is that Villa, this is definitely, I know everyone's going to say the bogey team is Man United because of the 90s and early 2000s,
yeah,
but Villa have lost 102 out of the 193 meetings between these two teams, and have only picked up 3 wins since Tereak was born. So we're
right.
talking 24 years, they've won 3 times, and they played each other a lot in that time. So
Yeah.
I'll nail my colours to the mast straight away. I've gone for a 2-0 Man United win.
I see. That's what my head's saying, but my heart is saying, having had Unai Emery at Arsenal,
Yeah, give us some insight on that.
he is a man. When he first comes into a side, he gets a real good tune out of them. He makes them solid. He makes them difficult to be beaten, and they'll nick a goal out somewhere unexpectedly and grind out a draw. Had he not been coming in, I would have clearly said a 2-0 Man United. But my heart said it says he's gonna do something. It's a team with Vil in the name, so it's ready made for him. I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna go 2-2.
Okay,
I'm gonna go 2-2 on this.
nice. Well, I think trying to not put words in T's mouth, he's definitely gone for a little bit of a closer game than maybe what I've gone for with a 1-0. And I can see that because we've already heard bits and pieces, again, listening to some podcasts today, trying to get brushed up to speed with this, because obviously Tariq normally is the one who brings sort of the insights from listening into other things. Apparently, Emery already is working one-on-one coaching the players, and he's a players coach.
Yeah.
So he's been talking to Jacob Ramsey about sort of holding him back. Don't go forward just yet. There'll be, I think, what you're going to get from him that you didn't get from Gerrard is definitely the tactics are going to be more nuanced. They're going to be a little bit smarter. Of course, you're potentially not going to get the heart and bloody hell, that's Steven Gerrard and all the other stuff that people are expecting it to be. But what you are going to get, and what we've seen, I mean, the man is made for, the Europa League, isn't he? That he's won it 4 times. He got to the final 5 times.
Yeah.
There is you don't do that by accident, do you? It's not Roberto Di Matteo.
I remember 3 of them he did back to back.
Yeah,
I think 2 or 3 of them he did back to back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he held his teams in steady mid-table security, which I've said on here and well, obviously not this program, but on Tariq's show and others. I actually think it's a match made in heaven with 2 a very good mid-table coach and a very good mid-table squad with Villa. You know what I mean? I know that Villa fans will kill me because they are a massive club.
Huge.
But I think it's a match made in heaven, where he'll steadily have a mid-table close to the conference places, and he'll go on a cup run. He'll go on a cup run with them.
I don't think I could disagree with any of that. For me, I think it's my disdain for Villa is growing up in the 90s. I was born in the mid-80s. If you grew up a Wolves fan in the 90s and 2000s, you couldn't talk to Villa fans because they wouldn't give you the time of day. Because why would they? Why would they? We were so far off their level. So it's pure jealousy is the reason I'm not a big fan of that. I think there's a lot of good players there that just need better coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Villa winning the European Cup. With Peter With, and because I love that. I remember loving that Villa kit. It was a white with the
a little thin
stripe.
Yeah.
It was really nice kit, and they were an attractive team. They had a really good goalkeeper, and they are, if I'm correct, they're one of the biggest Midland clubs.
Oh, biggest by a mile.
Yeah,
biggest by a mile.
So their fan base is crying out for it, and I think Unai Emery's is a really good and correct appointment because he's at their level, but with a little bit of ambition. I mean, I've seen Villa fans not impressed, but for where they are, what they are, he's as big as they could get.
I agree completely.
He's got big team experience because he's done Arsenal, he's done PSG, and he's done Villarreal, and he's kind of like Ranieri in the fact that he's a bit of a journeyman. He's not gonna take one of the big clubs to the top, but he's had that big club experience, and he will transfer it to someone like Villa.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, and they're huge clubs. They fill out 40,000, and the FA Cup semi-finals that I've watched at Villa Park. It's steeped in history, isn't it? That club. Moss has caught up with us now. I know he has. He was desperate to join in, and Moss, sorry he couldn't make. He was having a haircut, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know.
I think
he's got a hot date or something.
Yeah, fresh trimming. I think he's getting tips off tea. I think Paxton here. Going for a 2-1, always backing his boys. He's gone for Rashford. I think he's changed after I told him about Bruno. He's gone for CR7 to get a penalty and get that good evening out of here. Shea going for a 2-1 here. He's gone for Marcus Rashford. He's gone for a McTominay goal. And same as Paxton going for a Ollie Watkins. B&B, thank you, brother, for staying around. New manager boost going 2-1 Villa. Interesting.
Oh, okay.
Moss here talking about the championship and how difficult it is. Yeah, we don't need to. We'll leave that to Grace, and I just like joining in. I just like joining in. It's always fun. And I think this is on Anthony. Definitely, although the ball was only in play for about 25 minutes of the second half, we lacked the killing edge, and there's been a problem for years depth-wise, and we had to put Maguire in as striker. So that was about them not going for it towards the end. Yeah. So and Paxton, I think, talking for all of us here, the less said about Graham Souness these days, the better. And we'll move on now to my team. We'll go to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brighton. Put it out there already. Brighton throughout all of my life. Our last 5 meetings, we have managed to win 2 of those games. Those 2 draws there were 0-0s and 2 of the most boring 0-0s I think I've ever seen. And the last game, Brighton won. When we look at the form for the home team, for my team, a surprising draw, to be honest. I did not expect us to pick up a draw last week against Brentford. But we are on the back of 3 losses. I think I had it down as a draw. You did. Yeah. You did. A few people went for draws. No one went for a Wolves win, and you were right to do that. And in terms of Brighton, of course, that huge win last week against Graham Potter sort of arrested the slump a little bit for De Zerbi with 3 losses and a draw before that big win last week. And I think I can tell you the Wolves injury news off the top of my head. We have no striker. Diego Costa decided to headbutt Ben
God.
Mee. I think he obviously forgot. He obviously forgot the Vaza thing now, because obviously he did this for years without people looking, and now people are checking. We have Raul Jimenez is back from Mexico, which is huge, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the squad. I know that the club have put out a YouTube video with him doing a few one-on-ones, a few crossing drills, and basically just everyone really happy to see him back, because I think he's going through the ringer at the minute. Where of course without Kaladzic and Neto, so our front line is incredibly light, and I'd imagine up front for us in this game is going to be either the Korean Hwang, who scored against Arsenal last year in the game that we lost with the last kick of the game. Yes, he's decent as a striker. That's where I play him. I think anywhere else he's not very much. But we're also without arguably our best new import in Matthias Nunes as well. He's 50-50. He's probably going to be on the bench. So
is that the guy you got at 17? No.
No, that's Guedes, who doesn't want to be in Wolves. So yeah, he's very different. He was the last player that we signed, Guedes, and he was definitely told to come here because of George Mendes, and has not wanted to. And you've seen that. And there are 17 and 18-year-olds getting picked in front of him, sadly, because he's not in the right headspace. So no, Matthias Nunes is number 27, and he's the one that Match of the Day highlighted with that massive run against Chelsea where he dragged 6 or 7 players with him. He looks like a real player, but we're highly reliant on Neves and Moutinho still far too much, and the rumours are still circulating that Neves is on his way. I don't know how, but to Barcelona apparently in January, and if that happens,
I think there's rumours that he's on his way to my Sunday League side as well. He could,
he's going everywhere. He's going everywhere. And in terms of Brighton, the only real player that's out is Enoch Mwepu, who of course picked up that hereditary cardiac condition. So he's not just ruled out; he's the only one that's ruled out, other than Jacob Moder, who's out for most of the season. Danny Welbeck was unwell last week, but he's back and more than likely will start. And Joel Veltman, another FPL under-the-radar player, is more than likely going to play as well. So realistically, Brighton come away from that win against Chelsea last week fully fit, with only the one player that they knew about that wouldn't play, who's Jacob Moder, who's not played all year. So Wolves very depleted in this game. Very, very depleted.
I mean, this is a tough. I was saying to you before we started the show, this is probably one of the hardest week of fixtures to predict, because there's something on pretty much every game. And I think this is another one, because I think Wolves are in some kind of resurgency, because has it been confirmed now that Lopetegui is coming to?
Yeah,
Wolves?
so Lopetegui, I think, will be a done deal before the World Cup, is what the rumours are now. But of course, we had that 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't a done deal.
True.
But more and more people, more reputable people, are saying it's a done deal now as well. So people with the ITK and all that other nonsense, that stopped. More reputable sources are now saying that he's coming. And he's managed to secure some kind of, agreement that he can go home when he needs to, if his father's that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, I actually think the World Cup and the January transfer window has come at the perfect time for Wolves, because you now know you need to buy.
We needed one of these.
Yeah,
we need a time now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're rest ready to throw in the towel. I think if because of where you are, it will force the owners to go, you know what? If we want to maintain our Premier League status, we need to go out and buy players. We need to give this manager something to work with. And you've had a slight resurgence, I suppose, by Wolves standards of the last few games. I think this game is one too many, because Brighton's bounce will be too much. They'll be on a high after beating
keep
Chelsea.
rolling.
Yeah,
Keep rolling.
after beating Chelsea, it's like we're Wolves. Let's not underestimate them, but let's get a result. So I think 1-0 to Brighton is what I'm feeling here.
Yeah, and I think going on what T's put for his prediction for this game, I think he's going very similar with a 2-1 Brighton win. I'm hopeful because we have Arsenal next week, the late kickoff next Saturday at home. Secured Tereak a ticket today, so he will be going to that. So watch out for some shorts and stuff like that using my membership and stuff. We managed to grab him one today, but he's obviously sitting with the enemy. But his accent will hide it. It's fine.
Yeah, totally.
If you'd have asked me,
I'm worried about.
If you'd have asked me last week when I thought Brentford were going to roll us over, and the fact that they didn't, the fact that we went 1-0 down and came back, I'm hoping we can carry on riding that, and I'm hoping we grind out a very dull last match of the day. Don't care, I'll wait for it. 1-1 is what I'm hoping for. And. Yeah, I'll take a point right now because I can't see us getting anything again in the Arsenal game. But if you'd have asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago, Brentford, Brighton, in the form they were in at the time, and then Arsenal, I wouldn't have imagined they'd getting any points. So if we can come away with 2 points and arrest that slide, maybe get Lopetegui announced before the Arsenal game, let him get his feet under the table while the World Cup's on. Yeah. That's the best I can hope for right now. So I am going to go with a 1-1. But I don't know if that's my heart speaking rather than my head, because I agree that the game last week for Brighton and the role that they're on now and the form that they're in and the fact that all of their players are available. Yeah.
I mean, thank you for leading me into another Arsenal chat. But I'm actually quite concerned about that Wolves. I'm probably more concerned about the Wolves game than I am the Chelsea game. And I'll tell you why. The Leeds and the Southampton games, those kind of teams where with our form record and everything else and how we start quickly and all the rest of it, we're supposed to blow these teams away. These are the teams that have been giving us problems. Mm-hmm. We'll start fast, but Leeds can defend and they can frustrate us and they can, they can sucker punch you and give you a bloody nose. And those are the games that we seem to struggle against. Your Bodo Glimps, your Zurichs, your Southamptons and your Leeds who are in bad form. I think we struggle against teams that are in bad form because we're the favourites.
Yeah.
Which I don't think sits well with this particular Arsenal team.
Yeah.
Because the Chelsea game, they're going to be up for it. They know Chelsea are one of our rivals for the top 4. The whole we need to get results against the big 6 and all the rest of it. That will fire everybody up. But it's the Wolves games where, especially if we come off a Chelsea win, we're gonna possibly take our foot off the pedal and kind of think this all we need to do is turn up, and Wolves are going to be fighting for their lives and they're going to want to show the new manager that there's something worth coming here for. So I worry about that with it coming into that game. And I think Lopetegui's got a good nucleus to start with this Wales team. You know what I mean? And especially as he's coming in, as the World Cup ends, whatever connections he has, he'll make them during the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he might bring in some left field players that you're not aware of that he's got connection to.
Yep.
I mean, I can't remember the last club he was in, but
the rumours already are flying around that we've got Real Madrid periphery players that we're willing to pay the wages for on loans and stuff and take some of their wage bill off them, which is the Wolves' blueprint. Is that we get people in on loan and then agree to pay the fees over 3 or 4 years and all that kind of stuff. So we are already linked to those types of people. So yeah, I'm hopeful, and I'm sure there'll be a big Wolves Arsenal chat next week that I'm sure we'll all be involved in, because we'll preview it. Moss, yep, you are right. King's show is on now, but
yes,
you can always watch that one back later, is what I'd say. No offense, King. And guys, if you are interested in staying on top of all of the games, Moss does do what he calls the goal rush, but it's a bit like our Gillette Soccer Saturday. So, being based in Canada, he manages to get all the Premier League games where we can't.
Yeah.
Go figure. So make sure you get over there, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you are. I think he's closing in on 150, so yeah, that would be great. Paxton going for a 0-0. Mate, I've sat through more than one Brighton Wolves 0-0 in my time. Shay, love your confidence. Back in Wolves 3-1. Paxton,
has Wolves scored 3 goals all season?
We got 5. I think we got 5. Right. Neves has got 2. Podence has got 2.
Right.
We've scored 4.
And the ball boys got 1.
Neves for Ronaldo swap. Who says no? I do. Will Rally. Hi, Rally. Hope you're well, mate. 2-1. Yeah, I agree. We are lacking a cutting edge, and a draw would be a great result. And this is my little nephew Drew here. Hope you're well, Drew.
Okay.
Make sure you
how you doing, buddy?
Make sure you smash the like, my little ginger buddy. Move on away from my team and to arguably the surprise package of the season in Newcastle. So we're going to go to the Newcastle game, and it's Southampton versus Newcastle. The last 5 meetings, 3 wins for Newcastle, 1 win for Southampton, and the 1 draw. And if we look quickly at the form, Southampton just outside the relegation zone, 2 losses, 2 draws, and a win. And Newcastle's incredibly impressive, unbeaten in 5. And only 1 out of the last 10 games Southampton have won in general. So against Newcastle. So the stats definitely push towards Newcastle and their impressive win. And I always chat about Newcastle, regardless of where the money comes from on the pitch. Incredibly impressive. Eddie Howe. Yeah. As you touched on earlier, Wilf, I think I predicted them last year to stay up in spite of him. But I think they stayed up and impressed and have carried on to impress because of him. So, yeah, very much humble pie on that one. Very impressive this season. And Ralph Hasenhüttl, dodging the punches every week.
Oh.
You think it's going to be the last game for him, and then something comes through and it's not the last game for him. So how do you see this game going?
By a thread. I think Hasenhüttl probably means he who hangs by a thread in German. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of Eddie Howe's from when he was at Bournemouth, because there was talk at one point of him taking over at Arsenal. See, I just found that round to Arsenal again. Yeah. I'm not messing around. I'm a professional here. But I've always been a big fan of his. His problem is that he's not a big name. Some people don't give him the credit. It's not like Mark Hughes, where the new owners come in and went, I want a big name manager. This brother knows his football. He's like Graham Potter. He quietly goes about his business, and it was always wondered, if you gave him a team with a bunch of good players, what could he do? And he's showing that.
Yeah.
I'm not that surprised. I'm surprised at how high they are in the league, but I'm not surprised that they are doing well, because I actually tipped them to finish, where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th.
Yeah, I have them 6th. I have them 6th.
Yeah. Because they've what they've done. Forget where the money's come from, and there's sports washing all over the place. Even Arsenal, I'm not going to pretend that we haven't. But what they have done is they have looked at the Man City model and gone, we're not just going to chuck money at stuff. We're not going to do a PSG or a Barcelona or anything. We're not going to chuck money random. We're going to build steady in the same way Man City did. We'll buy the players for the level that we're at, at this moment, and then improve and improve and improve, and he brought the Isaks and whatever. Yeah, they can afford to overpay. Thankfully, to Mike Ashley, because he kept them so low in the financial fair play that now they can actually, go over the odds for certain players. And he's brought in players that gel. He's brought in players that are not going to upset the apple cart, have a bit of arrogance, and he's got the best out of players like Callum Wilson, Almiron, Joe Linton. I mean, he did a Wenger there, but he went, Joe, I'm going to take you out the firing line. I'm not going to stick you up front. I'm going to stick you in midfield. And he's been fantastic. And they've quietly gone about their business and picking up results. And they gave Man City a bloody nose, and they'll give you a good game. And it shows that them beating us or slapping us about last season wasn't the shock it was meant to be, because they were building and they were getting ready for the next season, and they were a good side, and
very good.
You don't want to be going to Newcastle with that crowd up for cheering for the Toon Army. So I can't see Newcastle not winning this game.
No, me either.
Comfortably.
So I've gone for a 3-0
I have
Newcastle.
As well.
And
just in
for
case
this game,
you think I'm lying, I'm just going for me, Dad.
No, I believe you. And this game, T has gone for 3 for Newcastle, but he has got Southampton to score 1 to nick 1, maybe potentially. So everyone there, and I don't. There's probably not much else I can say on Newcastle. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Part of me thinks it's a little bit boring that they're doing it so sensibly. When they have all that money, because part of me wants them to just go, we'll just have them.
I know.
But what they're doing, they're building.
You had the exciting one when Keegan was there.
Exactly. Yeah. So and was it Jack Shepherd? Was it Fred Shepherd?
Yeah,
Fred Shepherd.
Yeah, Jack Shepherd.
Yeah. So and all the money they had then. So I think everyone in the chat as well. So Paxton is, I think, would be incredible for Hound Dogs FC. I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Shay as well here, just like Paxton, dropping in who he thinks is going to score. Callum Wilson, Joe Willock, and Callum Wilson again. So he's going for a. And we would love it, Paxton says, if Newcastle splashed the cash. I enjoyed that. Moss, hope you're well, mate. Hope you're all catching up as we go along. And one day we will do something together. I promise, brother.
Yeah.
I promise. It's you and your haircuts, mate. Obviously, your hot date was more important than me and Wilf here. That's
we still got to do that. Have we still got to do
the Arsenal best ever 11? Yeah. I've got mine written down. I've had it for months.
Okay.
Tariq never.
We can do it during the World Cup or something.
Yeah, during the World Cup or after the World Cup when there's a bit of dead time. We can definitely do it. I'd love to. So we'll move on. Potentially the only real sort of dead rubber, arguably, or maybe not, of this week. Everton versus Leicester again. Implications still with Leicester down there, but Everton-Leicester. Everton 12th. Leicester sitting obviously in the relegation zone, a bit up and down this season. If we look quickly at their form, Everton's form, the last 5 meetings, it's unbeaten for Everton, 3 wins and 2 draws. And then if we look at their form in the league, of course, Leicester, I think they got a thrashing, but it was only 1-0 for me last week against Man City. Of course, very impressive 4-0 win.
Actually, I dispute that.
Mm-hmm.
I think with how Leicester have been playing so poorly defensively, because I mean they've been leaking goals. I think that was a very good game because it took that wonder goal,
a worldie of a free kick. Yeah, that's true,
from KDB to unlock them. And I really can't remember Man City doing much else that made any clear cut. Yeah, the keeper had to make a blinding save or something. So
it was a bit of a dull game considering the sort of the attacking talent. So maybe I was a little bit harsh there. Everton arrested a bit of a slide after 3 losses on the bounce. Frankie Lampard has managed to pick up a draw and a win in the last 3 games. And if we just quickly look at the injuries for Everton, Andros Townsend, Ben Godfrey and Yerry Mina all out. I'd completely forgotten Andros Townsend was even at Everton, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, so did I.
And also, bizarrely, just not to bring up Tottenham, do you know where Harry Winks is right now while I find Leicester?
I think, is he in Europe somewhere?
Sampdoria.
Spain? Oh, okay, it's Sampdoria.
He's doing a David Platt. He's gone to Sampdoria out of nowhere.
Really?
He's not playing for them either, apparently. So that was something else.
Yeah, Goosey's not going to be playing for him. He wouldn't get my Sunday side.
And Leicester City, only the 3 players as well, exactly the same. So Ricardo Pereira, the right back / left back, is out and out until January. Johnny Evans is a late fitness test, but more than likely going to be on the bench at most. And Ryan Bertrand, another player I've forgotten was at Leicester, at a different club. He is out, and there is potentially chance that he won't play all season with a quite serious knee injury that he's awaiting the swelling to go down on before he can have an operation.
Some more humble pie here for me, because I'm not a huge admirer of Frank Lampard, the manager. I don't think he's that great. Fantastic player. Everton have had a bit of a resurgence. I mean, the fact that he's got a tune out of Iwobi, and arguably he's playing the best that I've seen Iwobi play since he was under Wenger.
Yeah, since he burst on the scene.
Yeah, and I think he's finally found where the enigma of Iwobi is best played.
Yeah,
and he's getting a real good tune out of him. And with this Everton side have always flattered to deceive, he's kept them in the hunt with Calvert-Lewin out and all the rest of it. And he's just coming back. Yep. I think Everton are going to be all right this season. I actually can see them winning this 2-1 as well.
Okay. Well, that's the same as our man Moss here, going for 2-1. I think I'm going to get splinters, as Tereak always says. I'm going to go with a 1-1 with this one. I think they might edge each other out. And if you look at what Everton and what Frank Lampard's been really good at this season for me is grinding out draws where they couldn't do it last year. So out of their games so far, they've won 3, drawn 5 and lost 5. And those draws are what's keeping them quite nicely in the middle of the pack. But maybe I can see what you're saying, because with Calvert-Lewin back, seemed to be backfiring a little bit. There was the lovely nutmeg that he did last week. He looked back firing on all cylinders and maybe trying to get a seat on that plane out of nowhere. And at home. And at home. So I can see that, And the Wolves fan in me also wouldn't mind Everton picking up a win. And, of course, just quickly, T has obviously also back in another tight. Yours and Tereak's predictions very close together, even though you've not got any the same. He's also going for the Everton to win by the odd goal with a 1-0. And I'm kind of wishing I'd gone for an Everton win now, but my granddad brought me up to say, never change my mind, and that was when he was betting. That was when he was betting on the horses, and he never won a lot. So maybe I should go against it.
I've got a question for you about England strikers. When we towards the end. So,
no worries. We've only got 3 games to go, and we'll be nicely wrapped up in 15, 20 minutes and all done and dusted before the missus gets home and tells me off for still going. Right, we'll move on next then to it's Leeds versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth again.
Is that Jacob sneaking out their house in the window behind
No, thankfully he stayed quiet. I threatened him with so much that we wouldn't do tomorrow if he came downstairs, because I was like, Uncle T is not here to take over if I'm not here, and I'm the only one that can press the buttons. So we're moving on to Leeds versus Bournemouth. Well, if I can find
another interesting game.
It is interesting. Last 5 meetings, I think all of these, I believe, have been in the Championship. I think this is their first ever meeting in the top division, of course, because Bournemouth, until very recently, were nowhere near the top division. So
exactly.
4 wins for Leeds out of the last 5, all going back to the Championship. And if we look quickly at their Bournemouth's a little bit of a slump under Gary O'Neill. 3 losses, a draw, and a win. And of course, Jesse Marsh in his tight trousers, picking up an incredible win.
Biblically tight trousers.
Yeah, yes. Only ruined for me that last week by his ridiculous dance on the sideline that I could have done with that. But other than that, interesting game, as you said, because this has got implications for the bottom of the league, I guess, because Bournemouth, although they are currently relatively comfortable in 14th, they are only 3 points away from being 19th or 4 points away from being bottom. 2 bad results and people picking up points below them. All of a sudden, they're dragged back in.
Bournemouth season, really. Yep. That's been the story of Bournemouth season. They've had some hammerings and then had some incredible results.
Mm-hmm.
And is 1 minute they're proving Paul Parker right, and then is Paul Parker? No. Their old manager.
For Scott Parker.
Paul
Parker's a Man United right back, right?
United, yeah, exactly. Ex-England. Yep. He was on telly the other day. That's why
he's the one that the ball looped over West Germany in 1990, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a deflection. He took the deflection and it went over. But I love Paul Parker. Anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think. I mean, I had Bournemouth going down quite comfortably, and I still think they could. I still think they're the worst of a bad bunch.
Yeah.
But fortunately for them, there are no awful teams. There's no Norwich or Derby this season. Even Forest.
Yeah, the Forest are the closest, but they're still picking up bits and pieces, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tricky game because I thought Leeds would be better off than they are under Jesse March. And if you take away the results, they've actually been playing pretty well. They gave us a proper scare in that game against them. I think they did it to and they beat Liverpool, did they? Yeah. And they've played well in games, and if he gets it right for the second, third of the season, I think Leeds will be fine. But I still think Leicester, Villa, and Nottingham Forest are going to go down. But I think Wolves probably would be safe. But yeah, it's like we said in just before we came on air. It's probably the toughest round of fixtures to predict this season. Which thank you for Tereak for getting out of there and leaving us with something interesting. But yeah, I think I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leeds.
Okay, again, very close to T's score, who went for 2-1. And I went for a 1-0 Leeds win. So we're all backing Leeds to win, which is, again, very similar to the guys in the chat. So Paxton going for a 1-0.
Yeah.
And Moss also going for a 2-1. So same as T there. So I think, I agree. I don't think there's much more I can add to that. I think Leeds showed a bit for me against your guys as well for me. And I think that they carried that up. They carried that on last week. I rode their luck a little bit against Liverpool, but they were well worth their win as well for me. So I'm comfortable with that. And I think if we move on to the last but one game.
To say one
of course.
I think what the biggest compliment I can give to Jesse Marsh is that he's taken Beelzebub and moved it on.
Yes,
he's shored up the failings in Beelzebub and made Leeds a far more consistently competitive side.
Yes, yeah. It's not quite all balls out kind of running, is it, right now?
No.
It seems a little bit more controlled, and I think maybe there needs to be a little bit of patience, because I know some Leeds fans are growing a bit fed up of it all, but I think a little bit of patience might be needed, I think, on
it's still elements of that.
waiting around to see if we can get it in, and of course not overly hit by the World Cup either. So maybe that's a good chance for Leeds to regroup as well. So we'll move on to the last but one game: Forest versus Brentford. the last 5 meetings again. First ever top flight meeting, of course, between these two teams, because Brentford have obviously been only in the Premier League for the last few seasons, and maybe 1 or 2 seasons way back may have been in the First Division, and Forest, of course, not been in the First Division since First Division. That shows how old I am.
I know.
Since 1999. So their last 5 meetings, all in the Championship. 3 wins for Forest, 1 win for Brentford, and a draw. And of course, Forest, with that important win against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, make sure they're not overly too far adrift.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think having beaten Liverpool and then took a hammering from us is going to affect Forest adversely?
No, because I think when you're down there and you know you're down there, you take. But for me, what I'd hope as a team that's also down there, you take the surprise win, and you also understand that going to Arsenal this season is different, and maybe you can just roll with that and think, well, who would have thought out of those 2 games we come away with 3 points? Let's not dwell on it. That's what I'd hope for a team that's down there as well. That's what I'd hope my team were taking away from it. But 5-0 is a hammering, and professionally that must hurt. So there's potential that they kind of carry this into this game. But of course, the Forest City ground maybe will sort of get rid of some of those nerves and some of those jitters. But Forest form, 2 draws, 2 losses, and that huge win against Liverpool early on, a couple of Saturdays ago. And Brentford's form on the back of quite a dull draw with my team last week, on the back of 2 losses, 2 draws, and a win. And the biggest thing to point out from Brentford's point of view is the biggest player that they're missing is Ivan Toney is suspended. So he's the biggest one missing for Brentford. And Forest, I mean, they have 5,000 players anyway.
I know.
Players that are players that are definitely ruled out that are playing more is Harry Toffolo, the left back, is out, and he is the biggest name that's out that plays this week. And Niakate, who played against my team when I watched us win 1-0 a couple of weeks ago, is out as well. So those 2 are the only 2 that are out that have been starters this year. So realistically, Brentford's injury and suspensions slightly better than Nottingham Forest's. And I think let's go a little bit rogue with this one. Let's put T's prediction up first. He has gone for a comfortable Brentford 2-0 win.
Ooh. If Tony had been playing, I'd have said, I can understand that.
Me too.
I stick by what I said at the beginning of the season, that I think Brentford run out of steam after a while because of their squad, because of largely still Championship players punching above their weight, admittedly. But I think Eriksen kind of got them over the line last season, and they don't have an Eriksen. And with Tony missing the games that he's missing are vital for them, because if they can't come up with results, and then Tony's going to have to start, he's going to have to fight for the rest of the season. So I think they're going to be close to the relegation. They're going to be close to the relegation places. I think they'll just have enough, just for the simple fact that, I mean, it could be between them and Leicester, but I can't see them getting anything out of this game win-wise. They might be able to sneak a point, but Forest, like you said, at the City ground, their fans are going to be the 12th man. I went to an away game there years ago when Wrighty was still playing, and the atmosphere was unreal back then. So I see a Forest 1-0.
That's exactly what I've gone for. Forest 1-0. I've been to the City ground twice. I've been once with Wolves a while ago now, and it was a dull game, but the Forest fans didn't shut up the whole time. And I also was given randomly through work complimentary tickets, and I had a wee next to Roy Keane at the City ground as well. So that's something else I can tick off the list. He didn't shout at me. He didn't shout at me, so I didn't. I didn't annoy him that much when I met him, but yeah. So randomly got some tickets, and it was the last game.
You were doing what you needed to do while you was in there.
I did my job. I went in there and did.
Yeah, you did my job.
Went in there, let him know I was there, and then
exactly.
So yeah, I've also gone for a 1-0, and again with my Wolves head on.
Doesn't fall far from the tree.
With my Wolves head on, I obviously don't want Forest to pick up 3 points, because all of a sudden, even if we pick up a point against Brentford, against Brighton, we're on the same points, and Forest aren't that cut adrift that we talked about earlier. But I'm going with the 1-0, and I had Brentford to go down when we did our predictions at the start of the year. Right. I had them as the Hull of a few years ago, when they had these sort of talismanic players but got found out, and so far wrong. But there's a long way to go in this season now, so we'll see.
Exactly. That's still a good shout. It's still a good shout. I mean, them in the relegation places, I wouldn't be shocked come the end of the season.
Yeah. Paxton, he's gone for Ivan Hold this would Tony to score 2. Then, when he realised that he was suspended, said he's just going to score them from the sideline because his agenda stands. So, love that. And Shay going for a 1-1 as well. Moss hasn't quite put his in yet, I don't think so. I think he's still playing a bit of a catch-up, but yep. And
big up to everybody in the chat still.
Yeah, thank you very much, people. You guys have been staying with us, and we're on the last game, and then Wolf's got a question.
I've so wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. Remember, hit the likes, people. Subscribe if you're not already a subscription, and share and like and all the rest of it. So
I know, yeah. To be fair, that is something I should have said, because we're actually on 27 likes, which is pretty amazing considering the main man's not here. So thank you, Will, for jumping in and doing such a great job. We're on the last game, people. West Ham versus Palace. Last 5 meetings. Doesn't read that badly for West Ham. Two wins, 2 draws, and a loss. And if we look quickly at their form, there was nothing interesting in the history of these 2 teams that I looked at when I saw it earlier.
They don't like each other, though, do they?
No. But bizarrely, I don't know if you remember this, Will, because you're slightly older than me, but I only found out a couple of months ago that Palace used to be claret and blue as well.
Yeah.
Until the 70s, and then late 70s changed to the much more dynamic sort of red.
I think it was nice. Around about when Venables took over, he changed their colours. I think it was something to do with Barcelona or something.
Yeah, like I'd imagine so. Yeah, the Barcelona Bayern Munich type vibes, isn't it?
Yeah,
the red and blue.
Very much so.
So Palace up and down season, but PV doing a very good job there for me. Still, I think the job he did last year to take over that aging squad with such a change, and we've all got all the talk of Forest this year and all their new players, but of course, I don't think Patrick Vieira did much. There was a lot of change last season that he dealt with quite well.
Yeah,
as well.
I still think he was one of the managers of the season.
Yeah, me too. He was in the top 3 for me quite comfortably. And West Ham, I'll just pop that on. They, of course, did win in Europe this week as well. So it will be 3 wins and 2 losses in that game there. So what thoughts on West Ham Palace? Interesting.
It's again, this is one of the hardest ones to pick. Like we were saying at the beginning of the before we came on air, it's one of the hardest ones to pick because West Ham are going to go one of 2 ways on the back of topping their group, playing the kids, the continuity, and players being rested and coming back and need to be firing.
Yeah,
Palace, they won last week, didn't they?
They did 1-0.
And I think was that away from home as well?
No, it was at home.
No, that was home. That was at home. I want to go for a Palace win, but I think it's probably going to be a draw. But it all depends on Eze and Zaha. That's how Palace play, and Zaha hasn't hit the heights as he did last season.
No.
I had him in my FPL, but I took him out and replaced him with Eze. You know what? I'm going to go with my head, and I'm going to go 1-1.
Well, if you look up, that's exactly what T went for, a 1-1.
Okay.
Yep. So again, guys, we're not copying each other, but it doesn't matter if we are, because there's a long way to go in this as well. Because I had written down as well 1-1 for this as well. So all of mine was done beforehand as well. We've all gone for 1-1.
Yeah.
I like the Palace attack. It's the
just saw King's comment in the comments. And if for those of you who don't know, King's got several shows, and the one that I've actually been on the most and watched the most, probably because I haven't been in the chat, I didn't subscribe until this week when I went to go in and went to leave a message, and I suddenly realized I hadn't subscribed, and I shouted him out on the Arsenal show as well. So yes, I am fraudulent. This is an avatar. This is not really what I look like.
You subscribe now. You subscribe now, and he's got one more closer to 200.
Exactly. Guys, I was waiting.
If you aren't subscribed to King's Football Show, as it says on the screen, make sure you do, because he's 1 or 2 away from 200 unless he's hit them in the last stream. So yeah, we've all gone, including Moss here, for a 1-1, with Paxton going for a 1-0 as well. And Luke here calling you out on the fact that you didn't back up your brother. And West Ham, Shay's going for a West Ham 2-1. So that rounds up all of the games. But Wilf, do you quickly want to ask me that question before we go?
Yes. Okay. What strikers would you take for England for this World Cup?
Right. With 26 players, I think I'm taking at least 5.
Okay.
But with only 1 up front, I'm not sure. So I could be argued down to 4. So definites for me, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
Ivan Toney for his penalties and his confidence.
Yeah. Okay.
Who am I missing? There must be a really obvious one I'm missing.
Callum Wilson.
Yes, Callum Wilson for his finishing. My only concern with him is availability. But he only needs to be available for 1 or 2 games and come off the bench.
Rashford.
Yeah, Rashford. Rashford for me is pushing Sterling for that left-hand side.
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, how about you?
Let
and
me
just
start
quickly, this guy's in. This guy's
Kane.
in for me.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Ben White starts in my team.
Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go and wash my mouth out with salt when I leave here. I'd say Kane, Sterling, Rashford as a midfielder, because he can, actually. On form, I would take Callum Wilson, because he gives you a little bit more than Toney. Mm-hmm. If Kane's not doing it and you want to, but Ivan Toney, his confidence and the penalties and stuff, I would take. So I've got Kane, Sterling. Sterling just always turns up for World Cups.
Yes.
Rashford. I'll take those 3 for experience, and it's likely to be Kane's last World Cup, possibly Sterling's. Then I mean, I've heard you and a few other people say about Tony's penalty taking and his confidence, but I just think Callum Wilson's all-round experience might get us through that, and the fact that I think he's in slightly better form and playing in a better team than Tony is, which brings him closer to the England level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I would have put Tony in had Gareth Southgate, which I think he made a big mistake not playing Ivan Toney in the last.
Dropped the ball for me.
Yeah, majorly. And I'm a big fan of his, but to take Tony and not give him a run out, whether it's 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever on that pitch, because I think that would have that would have given him the ego to say,
Yep.
"Yeah, I can do this."
Yeah, I
Now he
agree.
doesn't. Ivan Toney's an unknown quantity at international football now, whereas Callum Wilson's had a couple of games.
The thing is for me on the Ivan Toney thing as well. I think playing in that game, if he doesn't manage to go to the World Cup, Jamaica will come knocking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And why not
Good
go where you
shout.
wanted? Why not go
Good
where you
shout.
wanted?
Well,
We
you're
might,
going to get. Yeah.
we might have missed a trick because there's a big push now for the Caribbean club teams with the heritage trying to get people in to bump up the North American push. So I think if there's a finite limit on those forwards, Tony's the last one for me.
Yeah.
Take him into the space. If not, he doesn't go because there is that sort of unknown quality. But with 26 players, it's not quite the same as when Svenigans took Theo all those years ago. So,
and that was another thing. That was again my thinking. Sven made a major mistake by not putting him on, putting Theo on, because Theo had no fear. He had nothing to lose. He had the pace and speed that he had.
Pace to burn, especially back then.
He would have frightened. He would have done a Michael Owen.
Michael Owen, yeah.
And it's pointless if you're going to the World Cup to take someone like that and have no intention of playing. It's a wasted space. And I think that's what Gareth Southgate did with Toney. And you made an excellent point there that I never thought of, with Ivan Toney going, you know what? They don't want me. I've done everything that I can up until now. I'm playing at Brentford, and to get a shout, to get a look in, to go to whatever it's the Europa, whatever it is,
CONCACAF, isn't it? I think.
No, it's not the dead rubbers that we had. Where
the Nations League,
Nations League. To not play in either of those games, and then you see someone like Maguire playing both games. I'm like, you know what? Sod you lot. I'm never going to get into the England squad.
Yep.
And what you said would have cleared that up, made it a no contest. And I think you're right. Of Tony's, because of missing out on that, Toney is the last one of those five.
Yeah.
Just for form. Because Callum Wilson's.
This is all, and Tereak Talks will do a lot of England chat before the World Cup, so don't worry. And I think he did something on Klopp Talks TV with England and Wales the other day as well. Yeah. So there'll be plenty. Me and T are doing a watch along for the first game as well. So there'll definitely be some kind of Moss's favourite tier list that I know he hates with who we're taking. So we will touch on that at another point. But yeah, I just think with Toney, for me, I think it might, if it didn't happen then, why is it going to happen now? Yeah. And if you're only playing one central striker, you're probably not going to take four backups.
No.
So you probably are just going to take Kane, Wilson, and
Rashford, Sterling.
Yeah, Rashford, Sterling as the wing. You're going to look at players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin's potential there as well. You've got,
I think it's not
Tammy Abraham.
Tammy Abraham's got
as that central figure. You're only going to have three or four of them, because otherwise you're just going to have players on that bench that aren't ever going to play. So,
and Tammy, I would definitely take. I forgot about him. I would take him. He'd definitely be on the plane. He'd definitely be on the plane for his last two or three seasons, and he's got what everybody else has gotten a little bit more, a little bit of swagger on him at the moment.
Yes, yeah. A little bit of confidence behind him as well.
Yeah, but a couple of actually, because of this, there's a couple of questions in the chat that have come up. I've seen the England Shea with the England defenders who you take. Maguire centre forward. I wouldn't take him as a defender, so centre forward.
No, that's something me and T disagree on. I think Tariq would take Maguire. I'm not taking him personally. I think he's too much out of form. just quickly on Maguire. Too much out of form. The narrative is all against him at the moment. One cock up over in Qatar, and that man's career is probably gone. And that's wrong.
Yeah, and his confidence in that tournament.
Yeah.
His confidence in that tournament would go.
Yeah. And do you take a player like that to not play them? Because that also adds to the narrative of he's done, he's finished, damaging, and all the other stuff. So it might be better just to take him out the firing line. But again, Shay, we will touch on this, mate, but we do need to finish. I just want to say thank you, Wilf. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolute pleasure.
Hour and 50 minutes chatting through the games. Love it. I've got everything down. Guys, as you know, we do the Predictions League. The Discord link is in the chat as well. So I update it every week. T is putting up some prizes for the top 5 positions. So I think there's Amazon vouchers, shirts, and all that kind of stuff. Now he's making bread. He's going to spend some of it. So yeah, if you are new, do subscribe. Thank you to everyone that stayed around. We've had around about 10 or more in all the way through, so I really appreciate it. And Will, thank you very much for your time, mate.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a dream come true because I'm always in the predictions and whatever. To be actually on there, it's hopefully T gets more work events so I can come on. So.
Thank you, David. Thanks for being here, mate. I know you've been watching, obviously, in the background, so thank you very much.
Yeah, to all
Luke,
the chat,
thanks for coming down as well. Thank you very much, King. Again, if you're not subscribed to him or him, make sure you are, because they bring different things.
Subscribed to the Kings. There's probably another 10 channels that I haven't subscribed to.
He's got a load. So, thank you very much, guys. And, comments in after the game in the Discord. I'll drop it. Thanks very much for everything, and see you all next week.
Peace out.